Okay, guys, welcome back. So we're starting off this tutorial series with day one, and as you saw in the previous video, today we'll be dealing with the homepage and the blog single page design. So we're gonna fire up Photoshop and get started. Okay, so let's create a new folder here. That's gonna be our project folder. Let's call it Basics, and create another folder inside this, call it PSD, and this is where we're gonna store all our PSD files. Okay, let's fire up Photoshop here, and I already have the Basics logo opened, so we don't have to create a new one. 1200 by 1200, call this home page, and let's begin with that. So first thing, let's grab the logo, duplicate it into home page, and we can go ahead and close this. Now I chose not to create the logo and waste any more time, because after all it's a placeholder logo, so it's no point doing that. Okay, so we have our logo here. Let's group this into uh, into a new group called top. Next step is to create our guidelines for 960 pixels. So grab the rectangle tool, um, Command T to enter free transform, and then just type in 960. Command A or Control A if you're on a PC to select the canvas, and with the move tool selected you can go ahead and click the align horizontal centers just to center the rectangle on the middle of the canvas. So then just grab the rulers, Command D to deselect, and you can go ahead and delete our shape. And let's go ahead and save our newly created document like this. Okay then, so logo, let's just align this something like this, and we need to give it a top margin of 40 pixels. So I just discovered recently a quicker way to do this. So instead of just grabbing the marquee tool and making a selection on the top of 40 pixels like this, while looking at the info panel on the right here. So instead of doing this, just grab the logo, align it with the top of the page here, and then just holding down shift and dragging it, you can look at the info panel on the y-axis until you get to 40 pixels like this. So I think it was 41 there, so I'll just nudge it up a pixel. Okay, that looks cool. Now let's take a look at our finished product here. Okay, and you see we have this kind of cool pattern on the top, and this is very easy to do. So going back to Photoshop, let's grab the round rectangle tool with a radius of about 20 pixels. Color is gonna be a very light gray, so let's try with something BEC1C3, something like this. Okay, so click, drag while holding shift just to drag a perfect shape. So I'm looking for something like this and thinking, and this is way too dark, so let's group this up, call it decoration, let's call this base, and let's choose like a very light color like this. Command T and then rotate it. Change its opacity to about 70%, I think, and then just duplicate this this shape like this. You can duplicate it by holding Alt and clicking and dragging. So I have this shape right here, but I think they could do with just a bit more opacity. So change that to about 40%, and I think that looks quite good. So let's move this something like this. Let's resize them a bit. Okay, and let's just move these until let's move them to the edge of the page, to something like this, and then just holding down Alt and Shift, click and drag, uh, just to duplicate them to something like this. So as you can see, we're kind of aligning this shape to the edge of the page, so we'll get a seamless pattern when we repeat it in CSS. So let me just zoom out here a bit, get rid of the guides. Now select all of these layers and distribute their centers. Okay. Grab the logo, bring it up, just to bring it on the top of the decoration layer. So let's check out our finished product here and see if we got this right. I think we have too many layers here. So let me just address this real quick. Grab the two base layers and resize them to something like this. Okay. Zoom in here a bit and align that bit to the edge of the page, and also move them up something like this. Okay. Now what you can do is go ahead and duplicate them until you get something like this, and we'll see if we need more of them. Maybe two more. Two more would be enough here. Okay, so something like this looks pretty good. And you can go ahead and select the entire group and change its opacity to something of around 60 or maybe 80%. So something like this. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's take a look again. That's pretty close. Let's change this back to 100 actually. Select all the base layers again and change their opacity to about 30%. So something like this. Okay, I'm just gonna stick with that. Okay, next step, we need to add the menu. So create a new group. Let's call this menu. And let's see what we have on our page. We have a home, drop down, gallery, full width, and contact. So using Droid Sans as a font face, 12 pixels or 12 points, and let's change the letter spacing back to 0. Paragraph spacing is going to be 18. Paragraph spacing is 0 and line spacing is going to be 18. So let's input our menu here. So we're going to have home, drop down menu, and let me zoom in here a bit so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so drop down menu, gallery page, full width page, and looking good. Now select all of these and go to our character panel here and choose all caps, and that's gonna make all the text uppercase. For text color, we're gonna have 2F 3134. So 2F3134. Okay, that looks pretty good. So this is our menu text. Next step would be to add these kind of background items or cases to the menu. So grab the round rectangle tool, set its radius to about 5, and let's set the foreground color to the dark that we use for the menu items. So 2F3134. Okay, and let's just drag something like this, about 30 pixels in height. Let's call it base, and bring it all the way down here, and then just grab the 4 list items and set their color to white. Okay, let's zoom in here a bit. Let's add some margins to this casing right here. So grab the direct selection tool and click on the vector thumbnail here on the base, and grab these 2 corners, click and drag, just to give a bit of a spacing here. So grab the others, click and drag. Okay, something like this. We're not going to worry about having this perfectly distanced from the elements around it, because we're going to do that in CSS anyway. This is more of a guideline. So just nudge it about 20 pixels in that direction, and we're going to do the same for the other elements. So grab the base, duplicate it, and kind of position it something like this. Okay, and that is the gallery page. Duplicate it again, this time for full width page. So something like this. Let's drag that contact out of sight here. Okay, looking good. And finally, oops, and sorry about this, I'm not used to working at this resolution, so sometimes my mouse just goes wild. My mouse cursor, I mean. So contact. Okay, that's good enough. So let's just work on the spacing here just a tiny bit. Something like this, and contact something like this. Okay, grab the entire menu, bring up the guides, and let's align it with the right guide here, and then just drag it up and align it with the middle of the logo. So we're gonna get something like this, which is pretty close to our final result. Okay, that's good. Next we have this kind of slider section to style. So create a new group, let's call this accordion or accordion. I'm not sure how it's spelled. I'll just spell it like this. Um, let's give these some colors. Okay. And let's grab the round rectangle tool and quickly draw a rectangle that's about 300 pixels in height. So something like this. Okay. We need to position that kind of 40 pixels from the logo. So align it with the logo and then just hold shift and drag it while looking right here on the y-axis. And just hold down and drag until you get 40, and that's perfectly spaced. Now we obviously need a much lighter gray, so just gonna pick up from this top part right here, and we can play around with this depending the effect that we want to create. So I'm just gonna go with E, F, F2, F5. Hit enter and grab the line tool next, click and drag, and let's call this SEP. And let's make this slightly darker color. So something like this. It's just going to separate our slider background here from the rest of the page. Okay, looks pretty good. Copy that, duplicate it, and position it on the bottom. Okay. So now we gotta take care of the slider elements. So create a new group, call this slide deck, since that's the control we're going to be using. And let's grab the round rectangle tool and make some selections like this. Now when I look at it, it just seems so big. So if we go back here and we grab the measure it tool from Chrome and we measure this, we see that it's actually 298 pixels in height. So my guess is this is going to be around 340 or something like this. 343 is the actual height that we need for our slide element. So going back here, just a tiny change, grab this and let's make it 340 pixels. Let's grab that bottom separator and drag it, something like this. And this shape is going to be actually 300 pixels in height. So let's see what this gives us. That's 293, so a bit more. Let's say something like this. And that's 297, and that's pretty close. So select this, select the base, and then just align them like this. Call it slide base. And let's see the structure. We have number and a title here. So we're going to have the number. Let's set our background color to white, just to make things a bit easier for us, so that we can just go and hit command and return to fill our layer with the background color. And it's much easier, it's much faster. Okay, so let's bring this down and then bring it up by about 20 pixels, something like this, and also change its text orientation to center. So we're gonna have something like this, center it again, and then just maybe bring it down to about 5, yeah, by about 5 pixels. So we'll get something like this. Okay, next step, duplicate this one, rotate it, and let's input some text. Okay, bring it up and then bring it down by 15 pixels. So something like this. Okay, looking good. So this was our slide base, and what I'm going to do is bring up the guides and duplicate this, to something like this, and actually let's group it together and call it a slide base. Let's call this the active one, and this is going to be slide base inactive. So the color for it is going to be white, and these two elements are going to be the same bluish color that we're going to use for our links, and that color is 19B7D. Okay, let's change some text here. Another great category, something like this. Now let's also give the base a stroke, so 1 pixel stroke, and let me just bring this like this so we can see what we're doing. So for stroke color, something like this I think should work just fine. So DD E0 E3. Hit enter and hit enter again. Now grab the slide base and duplicate it like 2 times and bring all of these to the right like this, and just nudge the middle one until it's kind of centered and aligned. Okay, looking good. And actually, one thing that we need to do here is select the text and align it to the right. So we're going to have something like this. And then just bring it up and align it with the text from the first slide. Okay. So it's going to be 2, 3, 4. And some other text. Okay, let's check it out so far. Doing good. Next step, we need to add a white background here. So to do that, and this is what I'm talking about, the white background that holds the actual slide content. So to do that, duplicate the slide base, Command J, make it white, and then just grab these handles using the direct selection tool, click, hold down Shift, and then just drag like this. Okay, bring it down under the dark one, and we're gonna give it the same border color as these. And here's a neat trick. If you wanna copy a layer style, you can do so by right clicking and selecting copy layer style. Now one other way to do it is holding down Alt. So Alt, click on the FX icon, and then just drag this down onto the layer that you want to apply the effect to, and that's going to copy the layer style. Uh, it's a cool way to use it if you just want to apply the layer style to a single layer. If you want to apply it to multiple layers, then just go with copy layer style and then select multiple layers and then paste layer style. Okay, so let's grab this white base and just drag it to the right a bit so that it's going to be the same distance as the other elements. Okay, going back to our finished product here, and going back, I actually noticed that the final product is actually a bit different, and the reason behind that is that when I was coding it, I realized, this white stuff doesn't really look good. So why don't I go and change it to a darker gray, so I'd have kind of a contrast between the gray here and the lighter gray on the background. So let me just go ahead and do this right now. So for background color, let's start with this and then just move it up to something like this. Okay, and grab these two and give them a very dark color like this. Okay, cool. Let's apply the same effect to the other two. And on this project, just as a side note here, I'm not very concentrated on getting all things perfect in the PSD file. And this is something that I've developed recently, and from now on I'll just be using PSD files as a guideline. So I just want to get an idea of how things look like when put together, and get some idea about the colors and stuff like that. But I'll be doing most of the changes to a layout in the coding phase. Um, so I think this is more efficient. You don't spend that much time just playing around in Photoshop, and uh, you can use that time to actually start coding the theme and get the job done. So as I said, this is merely guidelines, and we'll be doing some customization in the coding process. So the next step is to add an image like this, and then a title, a paragraph, and this button here. So let's just go ahead and grab an image, and for this we'll be using Lorem Pixum, which is an image placeholder service, and it's quite easy to use. Simply make a kind of a rough measurement here to see exactly what sizes you would need. So it's going to be 220 by 250 maybe, or even 250 by 250. So go down here, 250 by 250. Select your category, let's call it Technics, and we want a color image. So we're gonna get this nice image of the iPad, copy, paste it in. And what's cool about this service is you can also embed images, or you can also refer to images. So img source lorempixum.com/width and height, and you can also specify the category you want it from, so /sports or whatever. And that's very useful when deploying a theme, or just showcasing it, and you need some placeholder images. You just use these, they're great. And there are so many more image placeholder services out there, you just have to Google for them. But for now we're gonna use this, so just position it roughly like this, and let's add our title here. And as we can see here, we don't need an image this big actually, so let's just bring that down to about 180 pixels. So we're gonna, yeah, something like this. Looks pretty good. Okay. And notice the border here and a small shadow. Now this is added with CSS3, so I'm not going to bother with it in Photoshop. Okay. Let's bring this up and bring it down here in the correct group. So let's call this our article title. And for font, we're going to use Oswald. It's a very cool condensed font. I just love it. And for font size, let's just go with a bigger one. And here's another tip for you guys. If you want a quick way to change the text, simply go ahead and select it, and then while holding down Command and Shift, you can press the dot or the comma to increase or decrease the font size, which is a great tool. So I think I'm gonna do mine of about 22 pixels. I think it's good. Let's space this at about 30 from the image there. Okay, that looks good enough. Okay, next stop, let's add some text. Let's add a paragraph, and this is gonna be Droid Sounds, 12 pixels in height. So 12 points, and let's take out the all caps. Now we need a paragraph with just some lorem ipsum text, and you can do that by going to htmlipsum.com, for instance, and grabbing a paragraph from this place. But what I like to do is I'm using Text Expander, and it's a very cool tool to use because it saves me a lot of time. And all I need to do is I've already set up my keys, so all I need to type in is long lipsum or something like this. But let me just go ahead and recheck this real quick, since it seems to have an issue here. So Text Expander. Oh, it's just lipsum apparently. Hold on just a sec. Let me check this Text Expander thing because it's been having some issues lately. So long lipsum, the abbreviation is lipsum. Let me try that again. Oh, there we go. So there it is. Change the text to Droid Sans, 12 points. And let's just bring that text up like this. Yeah, sorry about that. Usually it works perfectly, and it's very useful, for coding and stuff, because you can have some snippets of text, and you just type in this kind of shortcut key, and it's going to paste this in. For example, if I want to HTML5 doctype, I just type in HTML in a text field like this. So let me just bring this down. So if I go here and I type HTML, it's gonna do this. But we'll get into that in the coding bit. Now, I had problems with text earlier because I had set the text align to center, so it just went crazy on me. Let me just bring it here and position it kind of around 30 pixels from the heading. Okay, take out the all caps, and for text color we'll be using 60, 61, and 63. Okay. And let's actually do something smart here. And let's grab a text box, okay, and create some lorem ipsum inside it. Now, the good thing about it, the text box, is that you can set its size and the text will automatically wrap on the next line when you hit that size. So for example, if I want to make this shorter, just go here, click on shift, press shift, and then just drag with the mouse like this, and you can make it bigger or smaller depending on how much text you have. So I think I'm gonna just keep it like this. Okay, maybe even less. And now we need that button that we see here. So read more about Web Design Tuts Plus. Okay, and this will be white, and use a background of about 30 pixels in height. Let's call this base, group them together, column, read more button, for instance, and the color here is going to be 19 B7 DE. Right, something like this. Again, not going to worry too much about positioning since this is going to be a CSS button or a CSS link. Okay, looking good. So okay. So this is our first, the first elements, the menu and the slider that we have here. And let's see what we can continue with. We need to add this kind of category bar here with this collapse expand button like this, and the breadcrumbs section. Okay, so let's go back to Photoshop and create our category bar. So let's bring up the guides first. Create a new group, call it breadcrumbs. We're gonna make it orange, for instance, and then grab the rectangle tool and draw something like this. That's 50 pixels in height, and we might need to change that to a higher value, but we'll take care of that when we get there. when we actually add some text. But for now, 50 pixels is good enough. So I think I want a bit of a lighter gray here. So let's just try something like this. Okay, so 41, 43, 47. Okay. And if we take a look here, let's just input some categories. So call this base, create another group, call it category bar. So base, and then let's start typing in some category names here. Text color is going to be white, font size 12 points, and let's align this with the bar, and then grab the line tool, zoom in here, and then let's create a separator. Now the separator is going to be kind of a lighter color, so let's bring it up to something like this. Okay. And just to get rid of this kind of additional line that you see from anti-aliasing, you can just mask it like this. Okay. And let's position these about 25 pixels, and then 25 from the side, something like this. Call this sep, and then just duplicate this. Okay, I'm not gonna waste any more time with this. You get the idea. Um, so I'm not gonna populate the PSD with too much information, since we'll be doing that from the coding bit. And grab these lines, these separators, and drag them so that you kind of create a clear border on the sides. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, now we need to add the expand collapse button. So create a new group, call it expand collapse, and we need a small arrow for this. So grab the custom shape tool, grab a new arrow, doesn't have to be that big, change its color to this, and rotate it like this. So now we need the background for it. Grab the round rectangle tool, and should be something like this, I'm thinking. Call it base, call this arrow, so just nudge it like this, and then space it 15 pixels from the right side there. Okay, so I'm quite happy with this so far. Let's create our breadcrumbs. So in breadcrumbs we need a separator, and we'll actually use the same separator as this one from the accordion control. So go down here, grab the sep, duplicate it, and drag it somewhere near here. Okay, and now let's add some text. So it's gonna say you are here, home, and then current page. Take this off. 11 pixels. Let's make this a very light gray, something like 87 8F 9A. Okay, this will be a link, so grab that, and the current page is going to be actually the same gray as, actually no, let's just keep it like this, but make it bold. So to make it bold, Command Shift and B, and it goes the same with italic and underline. So Command Shift I for italic, and then U for underline. Okay, just a quick some quick shortcuts that are gonna make your life easier when dealing with text. So align this with the top text right here, and let's move it down to about 20 pixels, and then move this down about 20 pixels. So now we have a centered text, and this doesn't look quite right actually. So 20 pixels is this. Okay. Now let's grab the separator here on the top and bring it down to the breadcrumbs. And we're gonna use this to kind of separate the breadcrumbs area. So for color, we're gonna be using a very light color, like this. So the same color as the separating line below it. Grab that line and duplicate it and move it to the right side here, and then here it is. Yep, looks pretty good. Next, we need the search bar. So create a new group, call it search bar, and search bar in our case is a very simple box here. So to do that, grab the separator and drag it to the left, something like this. Let's group these together, zoom in, grab the marquee tool, and then just kind of make a selection inside and call this search base, for instance, and we can go ahead and fill it with the same color as the background on the top, so as the slider background. So use the same color and input some text like type and hit enter. Okay, this is going to be italic, 11 points, Droid Sans, and for the color it's going to be something like this. So just grab any kind of grayish color. Okay, looking pretty good. Let's see how tall this is. So it's 50 pixels tall, and the breadcrumbs is 50 pixels tall. Now, if we take a look here in our finished product, they're about pretty much the same size. So this is actually 45, and the breadcrumbs is, and the category bar, I'm sorry, is 43. So yeah, I think we're good there. We're gonna be styling those from CSS anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, now let's see what else we need. Now we're down to creating the blog post title, the blog post right here, and the sidebar. And afterwards, we're gonna be dealing with this pagination controls. So let's just make a quick measurement here to see how much space we need for the blog post and the sidebar. So it's going to be 665 pixels for the blog post title. So create a new group, call it content, and bring up the guides. Drag a quick rectangle with the marquee tool that's 655 in width, and then create another guide, and then 50 pixels, and drag another guide, and this will give us about 260 pixels in width for our sidebar. So this is actually 257, but as I said, the PSD is just a guideline. So let's resize the search box. So it's going to be the same size as the sidebar. Okay, cool. Alright, now onto the blog post. Create a new group. Let's make this green and say blog post. Now the blog post is composed, it has a meta section on the left here and the actual blog post. So we're gonna create another selection of 100 pixels. Okay, and this is going to be the meta space, and then 40 pixels like this. Alright, so let's begin. Let's check out the structure here. So posted by admin on December 12th in design, and a comment link. Okay, this is going to be right aligned. Its color is going to be BEC1C3. Okay, 11 points. Droid Sans. It's not going to be italic. And let's position it 40 pixels from the top. Good. And let's set the foreground color to our link color. So it's going to be 19B7DE, and that's going to help us change the text color much faster just by selecting the text and pressing Alt and backspace. And wherever you have a link, select and then Alt and backspace. Okay, good. Now I think the spacing is a bit too high, so I'm gonna reduce it by 10 pixels like this. And now it's time for our blog post title. Again, using the Oswald font, all caps. Oops. I meant to change the text size, and it's going to be 18 pixels. This is going to be an H2 tag. H1 is this, which is 22 pixels, and this will be H2. And for color, we're going to make it dark, like this. Okay, we need an image like this. So the image is going to be, let's check out the width here, 515 by 100 I think is good. So 515 by 110 maybe. So going to Lorem Pixum here, 515 by 110. Oh, let's grab this image of the disco ball, paste it in, and bring it down 30 pixels from the heading, like this. Okay, good. Now we need some text, so let's grab this and create a new text box. Something like this, not too much. And again, we're gonna bring it down to about 30 pixels from the image. Okay, so that looks pretty good for our first blog post title. And now we need a separator. So grab the line tool and draw a line all across the width of the main content. And then just select this and drag it up to the blog post layer, where we're going to call this IMG SEP. And for SEP color, we're going to choose this color. Right. Now we're going to mask this separator right here. So to do that, make a selection like this, hold down Alt, and make another selection to subtract. And with that selection, just click on mask, and we're gonna get this. And let's position it to about 30 pixels, something like this. And I'm gonna use a slightly lighter color here, so something like this. Okay, let's grab the blog post and duplicate it, 30 pixels. Let's make our canvas just a little bigger, about 1900. Okay, that looks pretty good. let's make a blog post without an image. Okay. Now let's add these pagination controls. So going back to our content group, create a new group, call it pagination, and grab a round rectangle tool about 25 pixels in height and width, and click on rename it base, I'm sorry, and this is going to be dark. For color, and position it something like this, 30 pixels from the top, like this. It's going to be white, 12 points, that's good, and then grab it again, something like this. 2 and 3, and these will be a very light gray, like BEC1, C3, or even lighter actually, something very, very light, something like this. Oops. So grab the 3 and the 1, and text color is going to be something like this. Okay, I'm quite happy with the result. Okay, and now let's move on to our sidebar. So let's bring up the guides and group these all together, column main content, and then create a new group, call it sidebar. Okay then. So create a actually let's take a look at our sidebar here. Let's see what we have. So a heading tag, and then just some lists. So let's call this archives. It's gonna use Oswald as a font face, all caps. Color is going to be kind of a dark gray, so 87, 8F, 9A. Okay, something like that. And for font size, we're gonna use 16 pixels or 14 pixels, something like this. Align it like this, and then group it, call it widget 1. Let's add some lists. So archives, we're gonna have, I don't know, January 2011, February 2011, something like this. Slightly bigger line spacing here. Droid Sans, 12 points, and for color, let's actually use a very light gray. So we're going to have a BEC1, C3. So something like this. Okay. Let's bring it down to 30 pixels, and then grab a line tool. Grab the line tool, draw a line like this. gonna have the same color as our blog post separators. So something like this. And then just duplicate this text right here and call it, I don't know, March 2010 and April 2010. Now the next step is that you need to mask the separator just like we did right here. So make a selection, a rough selection, and then using the Alt key make a selection to subtract, something like this. Okay, and then click mask. So you get something like this, but it's not quite even, so let's just go back here and make it more even. So I'm thinking something like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, also duplicate it. So we're gonna get a list that looks like this. Okay, pretty good. And this one is not quite good, so let's bring the color from this category bar on the top. Okay, much better. So widget 1, widget 2 is going to be categories, and we're gonna have design and freebies and some other stuff here like I don't know, news and miscellaneous. Again, don't spend too much time populating the PSD with data, since it's um, it's just a guideline. It's just something to look over when you're actually coding the website. And let's see what else we have here. Some recent comments and the latest tweets. And I'm actually doing this because they offer me a different type of list of a list of items. So we have two types of lists. It's the two-column list, and then we have the one-column list. And we're going to need this in the PSD so we know how to style it. So let's call this recent comments. Right, the separator, one of them disappears. Delete layer mask so we get the full width separator. This one disappears, and this one's gonna say Roger said, great article, something like this on, and we have a link here that's gonna say article post title. And let's go ahead and make this a link. Alt and backspace to fill it with our foreground color. This one is going to be italic, and the line spacing is going to be 18 points. Okay, and already that looks much better. Now bring this down to something like this. Actually, we need 15. 10 or 15 pixels from the bottom of the text. So it's going to be the padding of the element. So let's make it 15. And let's make this a bit darker. So we're going to have 60, 61, 63. Same goes for this one. Okay. And let's duplicate it. Okay, looking good. Last one that we need, latest tweets. Okay. And they're going to look something like this. Okay, there we go. And now our sidebar is complete. We have the archives, categories, recent comments, and latest tweets. Now, obviously, when this is going to be turned into a WordPress theme, um, you know, you're going to have widgets and stuff like that. So these are just for, they're just placeholder. Uh, it's just placeholder content after all. Okay, let's see what else. Let's take a quick look over our PSD. See if we missed anything. And I think we're quite good. Now it's time to move on to the footer section. So create a new folder, call it footer, and let's have a quick look and see what this is all about. So we have just lists and then a section about the author and then subscribe to our newsletter. And then we have the footer and we are done with the home page. So let's go back here, footer. I always make the footer like kind of a violet color. So let's call this footer menu. Grab the rectangle tool and drag a rectangle something like this. For color, we're going to use the same black dark color as the top. Okay, 40 pixels of margin top, like this. Call it base. Okay, and then let's see. Go to Contents, Sidebar, and grab some of the widgets from there. So widget 1, widget 2, copy those and bring them down here in the footer menu. Let's align them. Let's give it some margin top as well. Let's give it 30 pixels, like this. Okay, so the headings are going to be white. The text is going to be a very kind of darkish gray. So let's try 60, 61, 63. And yeah, I quite like that. I'll keep it. And then the separators, let's try a lighter gray, so BEC1C3, and that's not light enough, so let's try 87 8F9A. That's not quite right, so let's just use the same color as these as the text. So grab this, grab the text, 60, 61, 63 for font color, and then for the separator color, let's do it like this. Sorry, I'm a bit slow at times. I'm not that comfortable with this resolution. I usually work at a very high resolution, so this is kind of distracting for me. So these doesn't look quite right actually. So let's just go back here and take a look. And I think these could use just a lighter color, so let's grab kind of a light gray. So BEC1C3, BEC1C3. Okay, that's a bit better. And let's try with a darker color for our separators. So something like this actually. I'm gonna try this. Oops. Okay, and that looks just a bit better. Okay, so that's the archives and that's the categories. And the thing that we missed here, or that I missed, is that on the footer we don't have two column lists. So let's go ahead and delete the layer masks. And then make the separators something like this. And let's go ahead and check the size that we have here. So it's going to be 211. So let's round it up to 210. So 210. There we go. And we're going to do the same for the categories. Let's just grab these real quick. So we're going to have archives, and then categories, okay. Grab the base, and let's make it, so what is it, 368, so we need 398. Okay, there we go. Alright, let's check out. Let's bring this widget to the right here. Move it to the right by about 30 pixels. Okay. And now let's bring these two widgets from the top. So recent comments and latest tweets, and you can hold Alt, click, and then just drag them up to the footer menu to duplicate them. Okay, let's just position these. Like this. Okay, recent comments, it's going to be white, so the headings are white. The text here is going to be white. Okay. And let's see what else we have. Great tweet 3 minutes ago via Twitter. This is going to be white. Okay. And actually, let's just keep just one list item there. And the color for the separator is this, 15 pixels. As a margin top here. And let's resize this just to match the other separators on the top, like this. Okay, looking good. And same goes for these two separators. So that and that, and then just select them and resize them like this. Okay, good. Now let's duplicate this widget, one of these archives for instance, or categories. So duplicate it like this, move it to the right by 30 pixels, and let's call this about the author. And let's bring in some lorem ipsum, but let's draw a text box. So a text box, something like this, and we're gonna have lipsum. That is I wanted to show you the cool features of Text Expander, but for some reason this is just not working right now. So I'll just copy the text like this, and let's see, 12 points, 18 points, bring it up, and for text color we're gonna have this B, C1, C3. Okay. So if we take a look, we just have a tiny amount of text. Sorry about this. There we go. Now let's check out this follow us section. Um, and just to help us move things along a bit faster, let's just draw a guide. Round rectangle tool, and drag something like this that's 40 pixels in height. Okay, looking good. And let's make it very dark, something like this. We have a text follow us. Okay, and let's make this just kind of darker. So we'll use a medium gray, like 87 8F9A. Okay. Now we just need to add these icons right here. And to do that, I'm going to open up Finder and grab some social icons, something like this. It doesn't matter. Okay. And then we need a separator. Oops. So we need a separator. Grab the line tool and quickly draw a line like this. Same color as the other separators in the footer. Mask it. Okay. And the last thing, we're gonna need a link. So let's actually make this just a bit smaller. 11 points. And just position these no, sorry, this is the separator. Position these kind of equal on the sides. So let's call it 15, something like this. Follow us will be a link, and it's gonna say, let's see what I put here. Contact us via contact form. Okay, something like this. And here I just used a special character. If I can just select it like this. Okay, there we go. Okay, that bit is done. And the last thing that we need to do on this footer section is the subscribe form. So about the author, bring it down to about 30 pixels, something like this. And it's gonna say subscribe. Let's just input some text. Okay, something like this. Let's get rid of this and the social icons and the separator, and this shape is actually going to be white, and we need to change its height to about 30 pixels, so something like this, and just a bit bigger. And that's 35. Okay, something like this should do just fine. And make it a bit smaller, like that. And it's gonna say enter your email address. Call it input. And let's make it a very light gray, something like this. And I just realized I'm gonna use Arial here. 11 points, italic. And I'm gonna use Arial in all of the form elements, so this one will be Arial as well. Okay, so enter your email address, and the last thing that we need is a subscribe button, and we can easily do that by copying this one on the top, the read more button. So grab this and drag it while holding Alt to duplicate it, and then just drag it on the bottom here. Okay, and it's gonna say subscribe. Okay, and actually we can make this even smaller, like this. So that's Droid Sans regular, 12 points. Good. And actually we can go ahead and copy that little arrow there. So the final product looks something like this. And let's go ahead and align it with our guide and increase the size of the input element. So grab the handles and do something like this. Okay then, we're almost done. We have all the elements that we need, and the last thing that we need to add is the footer information. So to do that, go to the top section, grab the decoration from the top, and then just duplicate it inside footer and drag it, something like this. Drag it to the footer, and let's add some text. So let's say copy info. Okay, and very basic text here. Okay, this is going to be center aligned. And all the text except WordPress is going to be a darker color, so 60, 61, 63. Okay, there we go. like this. And canvas size, you also need to modify it. So it's gonna be, let's say 2000, which is way too much, but we'll deal with that later. Now go to logo, grab the symbol on the logo and just duplicate it on the footer here. Okay. And then again 30 pixels or even 20. Something like this. Right, now we just need to get the canvas size just right. So it's going to be, I don't know, 1970 for instance, and something like that. Footer, decoration copy, bring this down to about half, and there you go. You have your footer content. Last touch, create a new adjustment layer here. So it's going to be black and white. Just to make this symbol from the logo black and white. Okay then guys, that's pretty much it for the home page. We got all of the elements here, and I've just realized that I made a small mistake because I've actually aligned the archives with the wrong guide. So let me just go ahead and address that real quick. So archives, let's see, footer menu, and let's see which ones are the widgets that we need to move. So those two and these two. Okay, so we need to move them to the left like this, and that will give us just more space for our author. So let's just bring this down to 50. Bring this up to 50, I'm sorry. So about the author, widget, grab these and move them to the left side. Okay, now we are done, and we have all the elements in place. And that was it for the home page. And next we'll take care of the blog single page. So for the blog single page, let's go ahead and save this file. So file, save as, and click blog single PSD. Alright, now a couple of things we don't need here in the blog single page. So let's just check it out. So we have the same basic structure except for the slider, which is hidden on the page load, and the rest is pretty much the same actually. So let's get rid of the slider. So slide deck, go ahead and delete that. And let's see what else we don't need. Breadcrumbs, content, and footer. I'm just gonna bring these up like this. Okay, and you can delete the accordion group. Now, blog post title, we have the image, and we only have one blog post, so we can delete the others, the pagination. Oops, I accidentally deleted the wrong one. So let's bring that separator down, something like this. Let's add some more text here. Okay, something like this. And then we're gonna have tags. So tagged, design, SEO, and print. This is going to be italic and 11 points for the size. Okay, something like this. Okay, next step we have information about the author, and we have this sharing button, which if you click, oops, if you click, it's gonna disappear, and it's gonna show up the social icons instead. So blog post, let's call this author section. Okay, so in author section, let's go ahead and duplicate the separator, and we're just gonna have a basic avatar icon. So I'm gonna use mine. About 20 pixels of margin, and let's say written by okay, that's gonna be 14 pixels, Oswald. And like that. Color of the text is going to be 60, 61, 63, like this, and then 20 pixel again from the left, and then a piece of text. I'm just gonna grab my description here. So a droid sauce, let's make it 11 pixels, and then for font color 60, 60, 61, 63. Okay, looking good. So that's the author section. Call this avatar. And let's call this share section. Grab the ellipse tool and draw an ellipse of about 50 or about 40, actually 40 pixels in height, and it's going to be a very light gray. So let's pick out a light gray, something like this, for instance. Okay, looks good. And then we need a star inside it. So grab the custom shape tool, select the star shape, and drag a star, something like this. Make it white. And then you can just select those two layers and align them. Now, if we take a look, we have a much a darker gray on this one. So let me just pick out something like this. I think this would work much better. And finally, the link, share this post. And again, position this of about 15 or 10 pixels from the top. Okay, so share. Kind of align it on the center, and it's gonna look something like this. Okay, good. Now the next thing that we need to do is the comment part, and after this we're done. So the comment part, as you can see here, it's basically just a nested list of comments. So we have this, the list, and then we have the form for leaving a comment. Okay, so let's create a new group here, call it comments, and we actually need to modify the canvas size for this bit. So make it about 2500 to start with, and then grab the footer and drag it down. Something like this. Okay. So, going back to the comments part, let's start creating the layout for them. So we're gonna have, I don't know, an introductory text like 3 comments for blog post title, 30 pixels from the top, align it with this bit right here, and then let's start designing each comment. So create a new group, comment 1, and let's see what we have. Grab the rectangle tool, drag a rectangle that's about 60 by 60, something like this, and this is going to be our avatar image. Call it base, and let's make it a very a gray. So I'm going to use the same gray as this shape right there. And then what else should we do? Let's add our symbol from the logo in each avatar image. So we're gonna have symbol copy and bring it down to comment 1 right here. scale it down a bit to something like this. Okay, and we need to make it black and white, so Command E to merge all the layers in that group, and then create a new adjustment layer, black and white. And as you see, it applied the black and white to all of our to the entire page. So to apply it just on a specific layer, you need to move it above that layer like this, and then just um, Alt and clicking right between the layers to create a clipping mask. And that's going to reduce the black and white adjustment layer to only our shape right here that we need. So um, let's work with a slightly lighter gray like this, and also I need a stroke. So stroke 1 pixel, something like this. A very basic image, since it's a placeholder image anyway. So next is going to be some text. It's going to be the date when the comment was added, so call it May 3rd. It's Droid Sounds, 11 points, right aligned, and it has a very light color, which is BE C1 C3. There we go. Okay, looking good. So base and symbol copy, and this. It's going to be 30 pixels from the top. Okay. Now we need to add the actual comment. And if we take a look at the final product here, we see that we have kind of this border around the comment. So let's go ahead and do that. So grab the rectangle tool, create a rectangle, something like this, fill it with white and name it comment body. Give it a stroke, something like this. Okay. And now we just need some text. So let's grab some of this lorem ipsum stuff. Just roughly position it kind of on the middle. We'll take care of that in CSS anyway, so something like this. And I think that's enough for comments. And we're gonna say admin, and we're gonna have a reply link. Let's make this 12 pixels. Okay, so something like this should work pretty good. Okay. Okay, so that's our comment, and I'm just going to duplicate this a couple of times like this. And like this. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it just like that. We're gonna be dealing with the indentation and the additional paddings and margins for the nested elements in the coding bit. But for now, this will do just fine. Uh, Now, last thing that we need to do is we need to add um, the, the submit comment form. So let's just say leave a comment for blog post title. So we're going to have a basic form, name, email address, and message. So let's bring this input from the bottom right here. Let's try and find it. Let's see where we have the comments. There we go, comments. That's why I don't like working on low resolution. I just hate it. You just don't have room for anything. Comment input, let's call this comment form. And actually I used a very light gray for the comment inputs there. So let's use something like this. Okay, looks good. So input copy. Okay, something like this. We need to position it about 30 pixels from the top, like this. And then just add some text, some labels. Your name is going to be required. Let's make this 60, 61, 63. 20 pixels from the left, and it's not going to be italic, it's going to be Droid Sans, and this one will be a very light gray. So very light gray, B, C1, C3, like this. Okay. Your email address, and finally the text area. Okay, there we go. And finally, we need this subscribe, this button style. So I'm just gonna grab it, duplicate it, and drag it down into the comment area, like this. Comment form. So about 20 pixels from the top. And we can say comment or submit comment or whatever text that you want to put in there. Okay, so let's just take a final look here, see if we got everything. And I think that looks quite good. Now let's just get rid of some of this space on the bottom here. So about 200 pixels worth. 2300. There we go. And just bring the footer up like this. Okay then. Well, that was it, guys. We created the homepage and the blog single page here, and as you can see, as I said, we didn't really pay that much attention to this particular phase because most of the details are going to be set in the coding phase of the project. So I used the Photoshop file simply as a guideline, just to have an idea of how elements look like and positioning and stuff like that. So yeah, that concludes day one of our tutorial series. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next couple of days. Thanks for watching. Bye.